My girlfriend told me she often experiences sleep paralysis and that she even sees a demon most of the time. She said it makes her panic because she feels absolutely helpless and that the demon staring at her seems absolutely bent on malicious intent. Of course, I told her that it was just a hallucination, and now I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, but I thought I might finally score with her if I convinced her that she didn't have to sleep alone. So I told her we could sleep together, just so she'd be less scared, and told her she'd feel safer with me. I wish I never had. It started pretty innocent, and actually it felt really nice to just cuddle. It was the first time I had ever been in a woman's bed before, so of course I had one thing on my mind. But I didn't want to seem like... well, I didn't want to seem like I really was, considering my intentions. So I acted as polite as possible, made sure not to touch her or grind up against her. But we were spooning and I couldn't help but think about it. I got pretty excited, but I didn't want to seem like a creep, so I had to awkwardly half-spoon to keep my junk from pressing onto her butt cheeks. But I could tell she felt safe, and that alone was a good feeling. Even though I wanted to bone, I was legit happy and proud to make her feel so safe in my arms. Eventually her breathing slowed down and she fell asleep. I had a rager and I couldn't do anything with it. So I was laying there, watching her sleep. I hope that doesn't sound creepy. It's just that she's so beautiful and I think I actually love her. All I wanted was for her to feel good and safe. But my mind was wandering all over her body too. I was lost in fantasy and drifting off to sleep when I heard her make this kind of adorable peep sound. Well, at first I thought it was adorable. It kind of sounded like she might be having a good dream, if you know what I mean. Her breathing was getting quicker, and I woke up a bit more and pressed against her. I was rock hard. I thought she was having like a chick version of a wet dream or something. Does that exist? Well, anyway, I kind of pushed up against her. I expected her to push back, but she didn't. Instead, she made that sound again. Only this time, it didn't sound so cute. It didn't sound sexy at all. I didn't think she sounded like she was in pleasure. If anything, she sounded distressed, afraid. I opened my eyes wider. I couldn't really see well in the dark, but I was worried. Wanted to make sure she was okay. She was whimpering then. Actually whimpering, and it sounded like she was panicking. And I realized she must be having a sleep paralysis episode, and I felt terrible because I had hoped that my being there would have helped her feel safe. Honestly, and I know it sounds stupid, but I felt disappointed in myself for letting it happen. I pulled her close and whispered, "It's okay, sweetie. It's okay." I stroked my hand through her hair and kind of rocked her side to side, but her breathing only got quicker and her whimpers got all the worse. She sounded like she wanted to scream, but couldn't. My brain was racing too. I wished I could help her. It was scary. I felt totally useless. It was too dark to see her well. In fact, it was darker than I had ever seen. I could only barely make out her outline and her eyes wide with fright in the dark. And the area in front of her looked like a black abyss, or a void. It was an unsettling effect, hearing her cry and seeing her stare so fearfully at what was basically nothing. It was easy to imagine a face or form in that dark, and I knew that's how these types of hallucinations worked. She wasn't seeing anything, not really. Just a shadow, and her mind was filling in the blanks. I wished I could see her better. I wished it wasn't so dark, because I wanted her to feel safe. That's when it occurred to me to just turn on the light. I'd see her. But more importantly, she'd see that there was nothing there and her hallucination would be dispelled. I turned away from her and clicked the bedside light, and she let out this low, drawn-out, pitiful moan, like she was begging me not to turn away from her. I said, "I'm not gonna leave you, baby. I'm right here. I'm right here. You're okay. You're okay. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just gonna flick on the lights." And I swear to God, she moaned again, and it sounded like she said, "No." But I figured that had to have been because she was afraid I'd leave her. So I kept my face pressed against her cheek and reached behind me, just barely able to click the lamp. The light flared, and I swear to God and all the angels, my heart nearly stopped. The shadowy spot that had been in front of her wasn't empty at all. It was horrible. There was a fucking evil-looking thing glaring at her. It was squatting right on the bed next to her, its face a mere couple of inches away from hers, its eyes wide and menacing. I fucking screamed. I screamed like a little baby, and the thing turned its terrible gaze towards me. Its eyes were like a deep pool of hate. I knew it wanted to hurt me. It was like all the good feelings I had ever felt were plunged into ice water. Like my soul had shriveled up and retreated into a deep pit of my mind where there was only silence and hiding. I wish I could have retreated too. I felt absolutely broken. I guess it might have been a flash of depression, though I've never been depressed. But there was something else too, like a sense of something that was unclean, dirty. I had this inarticulate revulsion. I didn't want to be anywhere near that evil-looking thing. I didn't want to be anywhere near my girlfriend. I was worried that she'd pass this on to me like some contagion. Awful images flashed through my mind. I thought she brought me here deliberately, to manipulate me, to infect me with this haunting. I wanted to hurt her for it. I thought, God, I don't want to admit this, but I thought about slitting her throat and plucking out her eyes. And then I started to sob. I love my girlfriend, and I would never hurt her. But somehow, the presence of this demonic entity made me hate her, only temporarily, but still. It made me want to hurt her, to kill her. It made me insane. The woman I wanted to protect, the woman I wanted to love and make safe, turned into some kind of ravening blood fantasy by the paralysis demon. I couldn't stop crying. She was crying too, but I barely noticed. In fact, I recoiled away from her and raked my face with my fingers in a desperate gesture, like I was pleading with my own broken psyche to come back to reality. I don't know how long we stayed that way. Me trembling with fear, her utterly still. Still as a stone, still as the grave, until finally she moved a hand. It was a jerky motion, but the second she moved, the creature fled. She turned towards me and wrapped her arms around me and sobbed desperately into my neck. She kept saying, "Thank God you were here." She said that her demon was there, that she knew it was going to hurt her, but that my being there had stopped it. Then she sniffled and smiled and said, "But you were right. This has to be a hallucination." I couldn't speak. I didn't have the heart to tell her it was real, or at least that if it was a hallucination, I'd somehow seen it too. She said, "You have to sleep with me tomorrow too. I know my sleep demon will probably eventually leave me alone if you are here beside me." She kissed me on the lips, but I was too shaken to kiss her back. She felt like my being there stopped the creature from hurting her, that tonight it had seemed more real than ever, more dangerous than ever. She said that she had an overwhelming fear that the creature would slit her throat and pluck out her eyes, and she knew a hallucination couldn't do that, but somehow she also really felt like my being there saved her life. But that image was still burned into my mind, the homage of me hurting her, in that exact same way that she had thought the demon would. She wants me to sleep with her as often as possible, but how can I? She says I'll help her feel safe, and maybe she's right. Maybe my being there did stop the demon, but how can I sleep with her again? I don't think I can bear to see her sleep paralysis demon once more. I may go insane. I don't know if I can resist it, if it tries to tell me to hurt her, to kill her. Do I protect her from myself? Do I abandon her to face this night terror all on her own? Or do I try to help? Or do I protect her from the night terror? I don't know what to do, and I'm terrified.